All right, good morning. Hope everybody is doing well on this Monday morning. Um, Sorry about yesterday's technical issue. Apparently, my phone did not like doing an hour-long demo and it died towards the end. I was able to kind of bring it back up, but I had already done most of the outline and a little bit by the time it had picked back through. So apologize about that. We are learning a lot every day doing these demos, just as you are learning a lot at home while you're painting. All right, so let me just, I'm getting the chat up and my reference photo. Excellent, excellent. And let's see. Hi, Anita, Michelle, Denise. Awesome, awesome. So glad you guys can join us. All right, so a little bit of what you're looking at. We are actually using pretty much the full color palette today. I think I have all the colors on there except burnt sienna, but we have our light brown. So I am working on an 8x10 panel. A stretched canvas is going to be a little bit thicker and a little bit taller, but you can paint on either. And what you're looking at, we have our image already on the canvas. So you've got a few options about getting this on your canvas. You can pause the video, draw what you see, and then pick up the video where you left off. Or there's a link in the description box below. You can jump over to that link, purchase the Traceable, print it out, download it, print it out, and then with carbon paper, you can transfer it to your canvas. And that Traceable is a really nice way for my first time painters to get their initial image on their canvas. So that way you don't have to stress about drawing and you can jump right into painting. So if you guys have any questions today, please let me know. Leave a comment in the chat. And there we go. Make sure it was still going. Okay. But yeah, if you have any questions today, leave a comment in the chat and I will address it as I am painting. All right. And just look and see if there's any other questions. Got a few more people jumping on. Hi, Photography Queen. Excellent. And kind of like what we were talking about yesterday, this image. I'll talk about copyright and using images off the internet as I paint this today. So what we're going to do, each of our fruit's going to have its own specific color. We're going to put a little bit of a table here. So we use our raw sienna for that. I might do a light lavender background. The bowl is going to be kind of a really pretty blue, closer to that green, that pretty color. We've got our bananas, our pear, our orange, our apple, and then we're going to do green and red grapes. So we're going to take it section by section. I'm going to try not to do layers on this one so I can finish it in a quicker amount of time. So first, let's actually do the background. So we're going to do a light purple. So I'm going to put some of that purple aside and start pulling the white into it. And going for just kind of a medium shade of purple. If you want to go darker, go right ahead. And we don't have a whole lot of space to fill in, but we are going from the edge of our fruit and the edge of our bowl to the edges of the canvas. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead. We'll put a line in for where our table is. Now you've got a choice on your table. You can have a curved, and that's kind of what I like, or you can do a straight line across, but we're just going to kind of separate it. I'm going to do that curve, and I'm going to start here maybe about an inch from the bottom right-hand corner. Just place my brush, curve, and when I get to the bowl, pick my brush up, hover, continue that curve, and then when you get to the other side of the bowl, put the brush back down, and then continue that curve off the edge. If you happen to drag your color through your bowl, don't freak out because we will put other paint on top of it. So now we're going to be filling from that line up and from the edges of our bowl over and our fruit. Now you'll see that I mix my color 2 or 3 times. So if you're doing that for yours, don't stress about getting the exact same shade every time. A little variety is to your benefit as you're painting. And I don't want you stressing out about mixing the perfect color. All right, so like I was saying, I'm actually just looking to see if there's any questions. Awesome, awesome. Okay, cool. And you guys are all talking amongst yourself. Love it, love it. Okay, so what I was talking about for copyright stuff, because we talked about it a little bit in yesterday's demo. Um, if you go to Google and search fruit basket painting, scroll down, you'll eventually see this particular composition. Um, and if you keep scrolling through some of the pictures, you're going to see a drawing, a watercolor painting, an oil painting. I think that's all I saw. There might be a few more, but they literally are all painting the exact same thing. Even on the drawing and the watercolor one, you'll look at the background, and the background's a bit of a grayish, medium gray with hints of purples and hints of blues in there. And the people that copied the image copied every single thing. So in the copyright world, that is a violation, and you could get sued or get a cease and desist letter. So if you are referencing photographs off the internet, you do not have permission from the photographer, or if it's just kind of even a random one and you can't find who the photographer is, make sure you change stuff about your painting. So when you find that image, you'll see that I've changed the background. We're going to make the table a little bit darker, and because of the curve, it's not a straight line. We're changing the color of the bowl. I'm changing the color of the one set of grapes, switching the apple and the orange. So again, just kind of look at that. And if you use images and you don't charge any money for that painting, you're okay, you're free and clear. But if you start charging money and selling your artwork, and you basically just copied a painting, a photograph or an image off the internet, you are in copyright violation. So just get in the habit of anytime you're using a reference image that's not your own, just change 5 to 10 aspects about that. All right. And after yesterday's, my phone dying after an hour's demo, I'm definitely going to keep checking to make sure my phone is still on. All right, so we're going to keep the background pretty simple. I'm going to move right into the direct raw sienna, and that is our light brown. And this I'm actually going to mix with the white because I need it to be a little bit thicker. And the white is a little bit thicker, and it kind of gives this a bit more of a creamy color. So it's about a 1-to-1 ratio. And this one we will do a touch of shading. We'll put a little highlight on the perimeter of the table and a little bit of a shadow underneath the bowl. So if you're jumping right in from painting your background into painting the table, just be very cautious as you are coming right up next to your background color with your table color. And should you get some of that purple into your table color, just take a paper towel, wipe it off, and then reapply your paint. All right, so let's see, we got a few questions. Cool, so what brand of panels am I using? They look bright and smooth. Awesome, good question, Stephanie, thank you. So let's see, I buy, and you guys can actually order from it too, Jerry's Artorama. I'm trying to think of the brand. Hold on, I'm gonna pick it up and look at the back. Okay, so it's the Soho brand, Urban Artist, and then just the canvas panels, but that's the brand. And you can find those on Jerry's Artorama. And I buy those in bulk packs, so I think 24 to a pack. And you can get them in various sizes, and if you order enough, then you get free shipping. Same place that I get my panels for teaching, the 11x14 canvases for class. All right, so now it's probably hard to see. I did grab some of that raw sienna, the light brown, and we're going to put a little bit of it, and I'm going to slap a chunk of it right underneath. And then we're going to put a little bit behind here, and I'm just kind of putting that color on there chunky. Wipe that brush off, and then you can use light pressure and kind of smush or blend that darker color into the lighter base color. And it just has to give it an illusion, and I want it a little bit darker right underneath that table. So I'm grabbing a little bit of black, and a little bit of your dark colors goes a long way. Again, just kind of slapping that on there, wipe that brush off, and then with a little bit more pressure, because I want this to diffuse together, I'm pushing that darker color into it. Now when you're using the darker color on there, sometimes it is nice to wipe that darker color off before you move your brush to go over the top of a lighter area. And as you paint and blend, you'll get kind of comfortable with that concept of picking up and wiping off your brush as needed. For a highlight value, I'm going to grab some of that white and we're going to put it kind of on the perimeter of the table. We'll put it over here. And then again, same thing, wipe that brush off. And you'll notice with your lighter colors, they actually get eaten up in your base colors a lot quicker. So again, you're just going to find your balance as you learn to blend more and more with each painting that you do. All right, so good looking table. Excellent, excellent. Oh, good. I'm glad you already buy from Jerry's Artorama. Awesome. And they're really good. Their customer service is awesome. Okay, and I think they're more on the cheaper side. I still like Michaels and Blick's. Since that's where my finger went, I'm just going to put some more paint over that. Okay, so now we're going to move into the bowl, and I do want it to be pretty close to that bright blue color. So we're going to put our base blue on here, and then at the bottom, we'll make a bluish black and put a little bit of shadow on there, and then we'll put a little bit of highlight on the rim. So I'm actually using my blue direct on its own. And if anytime, any of my videos, if you want to switch up colors, if you want to do a gold bowl or a green one or something to match the decor of your house, please feel free to deviate from my plan or my instruction. And if you need to, grab the small pointy brush. I still have the tendency to stick with the same brush and keep painting. But just because I don't switch brushes doesn't mean you can't. And again, you can try holding your brush in different directions. Light pressure will not have the brush strokes show up. More pressure, they will show up. And if you're using student grade paint like I am, you can see the places where I have applied it a little thicker, and then you can see the places where it's a little more transparent and I can see the white of the canvas showing through. So no matter what paint you are using, you will adjust based on the brand of paint, the qualities of that paint, and even the qualities of your environment of where you're painting. So when you paint inside, your paint will actually stay wet and malleable for a lot longer. When you're outside, your dry time is going to speed up quite a bit. And I actually cut off some of that table, so I'm going over the table to reshape the base of my vase or bowl. All right, oh, and we gotta get that little rim, the lip, that we're gonna make lighter, so we're gonna put some white on top of that. All right, so just like we did with our table, we're going to take some of our black darker and then some of our white lighter to create this shading value. And just like on the table, that black is going to be pretty powerful, so I'm just going to place it in there. And I'm going to try to make mine a little bit darker than you need to make it at home, just so it shows up, because that blue is already pretty dark. So where kind of the curve of the base of the bowl was before it met the pedestal that's holding it, we're putting a little bit of black right underneath that. And with light pressure, I'm just kind of pulling it down into that base. And if you need to, wipe off any excess paint so you can focus more on the blending. And again, you'll notice that darker colors will take a little bit of pigment to go a long way. And your lighter colors, you might need more pigment to do your blending. So now we're going to do that same thing. We're going to put a little bit of black underneath the rim and these grapes and blend that in. So again, just going right underneath that rim. And then we're going to go right below these grapes. Again, I had quite a bit of black paint on there, so I'm wiping that off. And then with light pressure and just kind of pulling down, and I'm going to take a quick look in a minute, see what it looks like on the phone. All right, starting to get some shadows, so looking good. If you need to, you can always go back and grab some of your blue. All right, now we're going to wipe that brush off. Go ahead and clean it. You don't have to clean it thoroughly because we're still going to be mixing it with the blue. And now we're going to add the white. And again, remember the white is going to get eaten up and diffused very quickly. So we're going to put this on the top of that rim. And see, you can already see how quickly it's changing colors. Then we're going to put a little bit down here. And then we do have kind of a residual highlight on the perimeter, on the edge of the bowl. So again, just place your white on there, wipe off that brush. All right, oh, I see some other questions. Hold on. Oh, tequila sunrise. That would be nice too. Oh, you want me to paint it, not drink it. Okay. I will add that to the list. And some summery flowers. Yeah, nobody's mentioned flowers yet. And the country kitchen. All right. And welcome from South Carolina. Nice to join us, Linda. Thank you. Okay. I will write those suggestions down and I will add them to the list. Thanks. All right, so wipe that brush off and then you're coming back with light pressure, blending it in, and you might have to blend it into the black a little bit. So take your time and play with the movement and the direction of your brush strokes. And you still want to kind of keep it a little bit more lighter here and then darker towards the edges. So if you lose that a little bit, grab more white paint, you can apply it, and then less pressure this time. And again, this might make a little more sense as you look at your painting from that distance. So get in the habit of looking at it from 5 to 10 feet away, and that is the normal viewing distance for most things in life. So learning to look at your artwork from that perspective is only going to add to your growth and evolution as a painter. All right, and quick look on the screen, not bad. I don't quite like this line right here, so I'm just gonna play with that a little bit. And the more that you paint, the more you'll get comfortable with the pressure of your brush, maybe holding it in different directions. So I'm grabbing some of that blue just to kind of soften into here, and I want a little bit more of the blue here. Then we're going to move into our fruit basket. We're going to start with our light colors first. We'll get those bananas in there. Then we'll move to kind of a limey green and work our way. Our purple grapes will be one of the last things that we paint. Okay. All right, so do clean that brush really good. And if you need to, maybe grab fresh water. Since we are going to be putting some lighter colors in there, I'm not going to use the water as much, but if you are painting at home and you just went from dark blues and you're moving into yellows, either fresh water or just a new water container will be your friend. Okay, so as we do this, we're going to start with the bananas first. We're going to put our base yellow on there, and then again, we're going to put a little bit of a darker and a little bit of a lighter. So we're going to keep building on this wet on wet blending method so that way you can get even more comfortable with it. So filling in both bananas. And again, if you're moving right into this, be very, very careful as you bring this yellow right up next to the blue. You don't want to create green unless you really want to. And then by all means, go ahead and do that. If you do happen to make green by mixing your colors and you don't want it, just wipe it off with a paper towel and then reapply your color. And I don't think I'll do it in this one, even though I said that on the frog, but I think it would look cool for the black outline and the pop art. Okay, so for our shadow, I'm not going to apply the color directly to there since we are working with a lighter color to begin with. So we're going to pull a little bit of that black aside, or that yellow aside, tiny, tiny amount of black. We don't need a whole lot. So we are trying to get that shadow. And let's see, let's go a little darker because it is going to diffuse with the yellow on the, there we go. So it's kind of a dirty yellow, but that's how we're going to get our shadows in there. And again, we're going to be going on the bottom right-hand side of our bananas. And the front banana is actually casting a shadow on this back one. So we'll start with that. So I'm going to follow just kind of the perimeter of it. Place it on there. Then right here where this other line is, we have another one. And then on the edge of that back banana. All right. So I'm going to wipe that brush off. I'm actually going to apply the white highlights next, and then we'll blend both of them at the same time. So grabbing that white, we're going to have a highlight kind of right above that line. It's kind of the cool shape the bananas are, that little seam right there would get a highlight. And then a little nodule right here, and then right on the perimeter. All right, so again, wipe that brush off. We're going to start with the white and just kind of smush that in there. And if you want maybe that stabbing method, blending might work a little bit easier for you, or just try light pressure and moving with the brush stroke. And then we'll do the same thing as we get to those dark areas. Again, just kind of softening the edge so it's not a bright, sharp edge. And right there for that transition where that shadow is, I'm going to make that a touch darker. So I'm going to grab some black. We're going to put it directly on here. Not a whole lot. Again, wipe that brush off. And then I'm going to pull it away from that front banana. And again, you are a magician as you were an artist. You're creating this illusion of 3D space on a flat surface. All right, it's working. I'm going to reshape that corner real quick from the banana. So I'm going to grab some of that direct yellow. And if you don't need to do that at yours at home, don't do it. I was just kind of reshaping that corner. It got lost a little bit. All right, so our next color for our pear and even our green grapes, we'll do these as, actually these as the green grapes. We're gonna go back to that Yoda color that we made and the tree frog color. So we start with the yellow, tiny, tiny, tiny amount of green. Again, we're going for that just light, limey green. And there is a touch of this color on the bananas, so we'll add that too. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. Our pear is back here, and I did paint over the stem of the pear with the background, so we'll reapply it. And again, just because my paint's on the transparent side, applying it a little bit thicker. And I am going to jump down to the pointy brush. I'm going to take a little bit of the paint off my other brush so I can put these on the stems of the bananas. So we've got a little bit of green on here, and it may mix with the yellow and change the color a little bit. That's okay. And then just cleaning up any areas. Here we're going to put a little bit of a highlight on there with some white. And it's going to kind of go on the top area right there. This one doesn't have too much shadow, but we will be adding a little bit. So wipe that brush off. We're going to smush that white into the limey green. And then I'm going to take a tiny amount of black, and with a slightly dry brush, you don't want too much water on here, and right where the other two pieces of fruit kind of touch the pear, we're going to put a little bit of that black. Again, wipe that brush off, and then light pressure diffuse that into your base color. And what I've been demonstrating on quite a few of the demos and what I teach in my Paint Your Pet class is your value scale. And that's how you create that magical illusion. So by having your main color, which was the green or the yellow that we laid for the bananas, and then our highlight, which was lighter, and then our shadow, which was darker. So you can create any image with 3 values. You can have up to 9 values on there, and the more that you get photorealistic, the more you can get to the 9 values. But if you could at least do something with 3 values, you're already starting to create that illusion. All right, so I'm going to keep with the pointy brush and kind of this light, this green color. We're going to fill in over here. And actually, as I do that one, I'm going to move back up to the big one. And we're going to fill it in, and these will be green grapes. We'll do a purplish red for these guys, and then we have our orange and apple. Those will be our last 2. So I am actually going back up to the middle brush, and what you're going to see me do with the color is just kind of use the width. So I'm going to have a decent amount of pressure as I'm applying this. So I actually need to make more of that. And I'm going to go a little bit more green than the pear. All right. So again, just kind of slapping it on there. I can still see my outlines underneath it. And just like we did with our other pieces of fruit, we're going to put some shadows and some highlights on there. Though for the grapes, we will add a second highlight at the very end after it dries. We'll put some of that pure white on there. And you don't have to do each individual grape. You can kind of just smear it on here, and then we're given the illusion that this is a bundle of grapes. We don't have to physically draw each individual grape or paint each individual grape. All right, and again, just going to apply it a little bit thicker so I have a little more opaque coverage. Not much, just a little bit. This will help me blend the darker shades into it. All right, so now we're moving back to the pointy brush. I'm going to take white paint. We're going to put the highlights in first, and I am going to kind of mimic the shape of those lines. And then we'll come in and put some shadows. So like I said, again, it's just going to be an illusion that we have our bundles of grapes. So placing it on here kind of thick and bold. And while you're painting at home, just kind of mimic the placement that you see me put this, and mimic kind of the general shape when I start to blend it into the color. But again, it does not have to be exact what I do. You are learning a lot. Your brain is interpreting a great number of things right now, and you are strengthening your eye-hand coordination by looking at the video, watching the video, and, oh, sorry, I was just making sure I got distracted for a minute. But so you're watching the video, translating, observing it through your brain, and then translating through your hands what you see. And the more that you practice this, the easier it gets and the sharper your observation skills become. So don't feel like you have to be perfect with anything that I'm demonstrating right from the get-go. So I just want you to do a little bit better than maybe the last time that you painted. So now as I just kind of go around with all of these, I'm just literally just kind of squishing it, making a few little brush strokes. Again, we're just giving the hint that we've got light hitting this object. And nice, they're already starting to look like grapes. Then we're going to go in with a little bit of black and do the same thing. So we're going to get that little shadow value like we did in the pear. All right, and again, a little bit of black goes a long way. So clean your brush out really good. Dry it off, because again, you don't want a whole lot of water being transferred to your canvas. And then we're going to put that brush, the black on the brush. And again, we're just going to kind of put it in a few areas and mimic what you see. And then we'll go back and just kind of squish this into the paint. And again, with those 3 values, we're just creating a nice illusion. And I already had my smoothie this morning, but I'm hungry and wanting fruit now after painting all of this. All right, and I just looked over, I'm hitting the 30-minute mark. My phone's still hanging in there. But we've just got a few other things. This will not be a 60-minute demo. I got a little carried away yesterday without even realizing it. All right, so again, just kind of using this tapping method, and I did just drop some water in there. If you do happen to get a drop of water that drops somewhere on your canvas, take a paper towel, and you do want to pick it up, because if you let that water sit on there, it's just going to kind of cut back through the paint directly to the canvas, since this is water-based paint. And you can fix that. I forgot which demo I had that happen in, but you can fix it. It's just a little frustrating. So kind of get, as you're beginning your painting, outlets and fun stuff, just start building good habits. They will help you as you get better and better at the process of painting. Okay, so not bad. We got a nice illusion. I do think if you go back and do the outlines, that will look really, really nice. All right, so let's do our orange first, and our orange is up front, and then our red apple back here. So again, just going back up to that pointy or middle brush. For our orange, we're actually just going to slap that orange on there. Again, I'm applying it a little bit thicker to compensate for the thin paint. And then we'll add our highlight and our shadow value. This is turning out to be a very colorful bowl of fruit. All right, so for the highlight, we're actually still going to use white. I was debating to use yellow for a moment. So your call. If you prefer to use yellow, you can. If you want to use white, go right ahead. And again, grabbing a chunk of that white, kind of the top here, and then there's usually a residual highlight that kind of hangs out in the center right there. And then again, just that light pressure, blend that white into the orange. And I actually lost a little bit of that. So I'm going to reapply my white just a little bit stronger on the edge. All right, and then same thing, grabbing a tiny amount of black with your slightly dry brush. And we're going to go right above those bananas and a little bit next to the grapes. And then wipe that brush off. All right. And again, I'm totally paranoid that my phone's cut off without me realizing it, and I ended up painting the whole painting. So I keep checking, jumping up and checking to make sure that the feed is still going. All right, and if you end up doing this and maybe you contaminate your orange too much, like maybe your shadow starts shooting up into here, just grab some of that orange. You can kind of pull it back into the dark and diffuse it. But again, it's kind of a back and forth motion as far as your blending comfort level is. All right, and then we're basically going to do the same thing to the red. And then we'll move into our reddish purple grapes. All right. And again, if anybody has any questions, please let me know. All right, so I do like the red delicious apples, so I'm gonna use just that bright red. The golden yellow apples are actually my all-time favorite. But I will not turn down a red delicious apple. Or a Honey Crisp, or a Fuji. I like them all. All right, so again, just applying that a little bit thicker. Right, so now we're going to take a little bit of white, go a little bit lighter, same thing that we did on the orange. And this time I'm definitely not going to move my brush too much because I don't really want to make pink. I want to make just a highlight, but not actual pink. Okay, and I actually was just making sure that it was still playing. I hadn't heard anything from a chat for a while or saw any comments, so just making sure you guys were still there. All right, so grabbing some of that white. And, oh, just lost my reference photo. There we go. All right, so same thing. We're gonna kind of put a little bit on the perimeter, and then we have this little spot of white right there. All right, and again, just light pressure. Trying not to get too crazy pink, and you will see how quickly this white paint just diffuses into it. And we'll probably come back and put another white dot on that. So now we're going to grab a little bit of the black with your kind of dry brush. Again, remember, a little bit of black goes a long way. We're going to go around kind of the perimeter of that orange, and then where the bananas kind of come up and touch the apple. And then wipe that brush off, and then light pressure, and I'm pulling it away from the orange and away from the bananas. All right, and right before we move into doing the last set of grapes, I'm going to grab the pointy brush, some raw sienna and black, not a whole lot of black, just making it a touch darker. And we're going to put that stem for our pear in there. And that is pretty dark, so taking a little bit of white. Whoops, I had a lot of water on my brush right there. There we go. Okay, so now we're moving into our last batch of grapes. And we're going to use our purple with a touch of red. And again, you can change if you want to do the black grapes or straight up purple grapes, whatever you feel like doing. If you ever want to continue the green grapes over, go right ahead. All right, so I got my black and my red and my purple color combo. We're going to do the exact same thing. Play with the pressure of your brush and maybe twirling it around. If you happen to go over one of the green grapes, it's not the end of the world. Don't freak out. And for this particular color for the grapes, the transparency is actually to my benefit. This is kind of bringing them closer to that purplish color and not as intense or as saturated as what I made on the plate. And now that I've put the purple grapes on here, I'm really glad I made the background that light purple. It looks really pretty. All right, and just going back in any of those places that I can see a little touch of canvas, I'm just adding more pigment on top of. And then again, we're going to come in with the white highlights and then a little bit of shading on our grapes. All right. So back to the pointy brush, our white paint, and again, these are just quick little arcs, little smears, little circles. Don't think too much. It's just more important the fact that you're actually painting today, doing something good for yourself, not watching TV, focusing on something that makes you happy. All right, and then wipe that brush off. And then we're just gonna, whichever blending method that you're finding comfortable today, smearing that in with it, and then we'll do the same thing with some darker shades. And if this white makes your grapes too light, you can wipe off some of the excess white, or you can reapply your purple. And we might get kind of painterly style with this in a minute, because this is going lighter than I was really wanting. All right, so now I'm actually going to grab, let's try it with just the purple. Yeah, let's go with just the purple. We'll not use black this time. You can use black if you choose at home. So kind of in between where these grapes are overlapping, this is where I'm placing the purple. And it may be the point to where like you apply this purple and you're like, well, I still want a few darker. You can always go back in and add the black later, or even the black just in a few spots if you want. All right. And I'm actually going to make more of that purple and red mixture. Awesome. Okay, cool. It looks like I missed quite a few of your questions. All right. Let's see what type of brand of paint that I'm using. All right, we got the panel, flowers. Okay, cool. The brand of paint that I'm using is Chroma Acrylics because I buy in the half gallons for my classes. Closest thing that you'll find is Liquitex Basics. So I'm actually just taking this purple and red mixture and just kind of reapplying it, toning down a little bit of that white because it went lighter than I wanted, and just kind of playing with the shapes of my grapes here. So just kind of have fun with yours and keep checking at them from the distance. So I do like Liquitex a lot. They're what I started with when I was in high school, and you do kind of tend to stick with the brands that you like. I like Golden and Winsor Newton as well. I use a lot of the Winsor Newton for my watercolor stuff. But Liquitex, Blix, artist grade paint is really nice. But when you're looking at paint, I like that it stays kind of solid here. The dry time is about 20 minutes on it. Some other paint is going to have so many fillers in it that it runs all over the plate. I don't like that, and then those usually tend to dry pretty quickly. So you may want to adjust based on the paint that you like, the method of what you're trying to accomplish, and just what you find comfortable. That's really what the art world comes down to. What do you want to paint, being the artist? Okay, so let me look in the phone. All right, this turned out really cool. So I'm going to take some pure white, put a few extra bold highlights on there, and that will bring us into the conclusion of today's painting. So no matter what you guys paint today, please send me a picture, email it, paintwithlovejoy@gmail.com, or tag me in social media outlets. I really enjoy seeing your guys' pictures. Feel free to check out my online school. I have all my free lessons on there from YouTube, $2 lessons for the traceables, my month-long Paint Your Pet class, my month-long Intro to Palette Knife Scraping. Very, very, very therapeutic and stress relieving. So please keep finding your creative outlets and then send me pictures of what you guys paint. Any suggestions that you want for future demos, I will put them on the list and add them to the playlist so you can see what we're doing. I'll grab the ones from today, leave comments for anything else, or just send me an email. But the demos will always be viewer requested. So I'm basically just taking the pure white just in a few areas and just adding some brighter highlights, higher contrast. So again, at home, just kind of look at where I'm placing them and mimic it to the best of your ability. And if you are inclined to place it somewhere I do not, trust your instincts, go for it. All right. Okay, so I think we are... Okay, so let's see. I'm looking to see. We've got a few other questions. Jen, oh, you got the Salvador acrylic paint set. Nice. Nice, and that's a good price for a pack of brushes. Not bad. All right, so thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, sharing your time. Please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you do want to be financially supportive of Paint with Lovejoy, there's options down in the description box. Just by watching the video, that's a huge, huge support. Share this with your friends. That's the best support you guys can give me. So until tomorrow, I will see you guys then. Have a great Monday. Cheers.